pitch from Contreras is swung on by Anthony, lifted in left field. Trevor Schwecke going back, still going back, turns and looks and says goodbye. Roman Anthony, first pitch of the game, lifts it into left field and out of the ballpark.
Yep, that right there was an Oppo taco tank by Roman Anthony. And Roman Anthony will be a guest on today's show. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is on deck with Cody Decker right here at Stadium. And, of course, you saw that home run by Roman Anthony, number 2 prospect for the Boston Red Sox. We were going to chat with him today, find out what makes him tick and see how he's enjoying his time so far with the Boston Red Sox. What is this show? Who am I and what are you watching? Well, my name is Cody Decker. I'm a former professional baseball player turned professional smartass on the radio and TV. Maybe you've caught me on Stadium FS1 or maybe even on Sirius XM satellite radio. Hopefully you've caught me in all of these places and, of course, right here on Deck. The purpose of this show, in case you don't know much about me, the fact of the matter is, have you ever seen a movie called Bull Durham? There's a character in that movie named Crash Davis. He's the most nuanced and wise character in the history of sports cinema. I have often been compared to him, which people think is an insult, but the joke's on them. That's the most nuanced and wise character in all of cinema history. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate being the real-life Crash Davis. And why is that important that I tell you that? Simple. This show is about minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is an aspect of professional sports that I feel like is heavily overlooked. How do I know? I spent 11 years in minor league baseball, not to mention a couple of stints in the big leagues, but the majority of my career was in minor league baseball. I played in front of thousands upon thousands of fans all throughout the country and the world, and not many people got to see or hear about it as far as the national media goes. So what are we trying to do here? We want to introduce you, the audience, the baseball fans, to baseball players that you haven't had the chance to meet yet. Baseball players you haven't had a chance to hear about yet. Baseball players that are phenomenal, that can make a major impact with your favorite baseball teams. And we're going to do it week in, week out. And we're starting this week with the Boston Red Sox and Roman Anthony. And, of course, I'm not here alone. I have a friend with me, and I'm going to have a friend with me every single week. And this week I'm having somebody from the Boston Red Sox organization. Grew up in the Boston Red Sox organization. He's a former teammate of mine on Team Israel. You can catch him all over the place, not to mention doing some work with the Chicago Cubs organization, the one and only Ryan Lavarnway. Rhino, my guy, tell me, you actually came up in the Boston Red Sox organization. We just watched that clip of Roman Anthony going Oppo Taco over there against the Fightin' Phils. You played in that ballpark. Not the easiest place to hit, dude.
No. Well, first of all, your energy is through the roof, and I love it because minor league baseball is where I spent the majority of my career, too. Parts of 15 years in the minor leagues. I luckily got parts of 10 in the big leagues as well, but minor league baseball has so much energy, has so much character. I'm so excited to be a part of this On Deck show with you, Cody, and to talk to Roman Anthony today.
Yeah, me too. And again, Roman Anthony, number 2 prospect. He was drafted in the 2nd round. I'm looking forward to breaking down pretty much everything from this kid's career, his life, his high school career. Because, Rhino, you went to Yale. I went to UCLA. We were both college guys. This kid's straight out of high school. To say that the Boston Red Sox organization and all of professional baseball is simply his apple to take a bite out of is an understatement and a half.
Well, you look at this kid, and he's got every opportunity. He's got tools. He's got power, especially to the opposite field. He's got the hit tool. He's fast. He's an outfielder that's got a glove and an arm. He's going to be an exciting player for a lot of years, and we get to have a conversation with him before a lot of people get to know him. I'm excited to talk to him in a few minutes.
Same as am I, but, dude, Ryan, let's be real clear. You spent time in the Eastern League. He's in the Eastern League right now, AA affiliate. He's in Portland, Maine. You played for the Portland Sea Dogs. I played for the Portland Sea Dogs. Just at completely different times of our careers. In fact, the funny thing is, the thing about minor league baseball is you had your parts of 15. I had my parts of 11. I finally retired into, luckily, a radio and TV job, and I have not looked back until this show has forced me to look back. And it's been a lot of fun to look back because I have all these memories just flooding back to me about the Eastern League, specifically in Portland. What was your favorite thing about playing in Portland, Maine, where he is currently playing? Because I got to tell you, for me, it wasn't necessarily the people, and the people were awesome in Portland, Maine. It was the food in Portland, Maine, because, dude, Daddy loves some lobster.
Yes, well, Portland, Maine was the first time that my wife lived with me, and she is a huge foodie. So we were going to Jay's Oyster House. We were going to Benedict's. We were going to get those potato donuts around the corner from the field. It's all about the food. And when you lived there, did you stay with host families?
I did. And you know what was so weird? I was like 32 years old living with this host family, which, by the way, host families in minor league baseball are not a thing. Like, when I got there and they told me, hey, we have a host family availability. Would you like to? And I like spat out my coffee. I'm like, what? Yes, please.
Yeah, and that was when we were making $12 a month in the minor league. So the host family was, first of all, amazing that someone opened their home to us. But also it made it so that we didn't lose money playing baseball every month.
And for me, it was huge because you were there making $7 a month practically. When I was there, I had already been in the big leagues twice. I had been like bounced around. In fact, it's so funny. When I was there, you were in the Eastern League. You were over there in New Hampshire. We both looked at each other going like, what went wrong? Why are we back here, dude?
Yeah, well, when you're talking about I had parts of 5 in the big leagues, parts of 5 seasons, and I was back there with the New Hampshire club, which was the Toronto Blue Jays affiliate, and that was not my favorite visit to Portland.
Yeah, I will freely admit I was fresh out of the big leagues like a month and a half earlier, and I get released by the Rockies, and I don't get picked up for a month, and I get a call from the Red Sox like, would you be willing to go to Double-A, Cody? And I just paused. I'm like, dude, I haven't been to Double-A in like 10 years, but I cannot get back to the big leagues from my couch. So you bet your ass I'll take this Double-A job. And guess what? I went there. I had the time of my life. Didn't play as good as I should have, but I had the time of my life just playing there and being surrounded by all these young guys. You know, I had Yohan Moncada on my team. I had Andrew Benintendi on my team, and these were kids at the time, and it was my job to kind of take care of them. And they made it abundantly clear when I signed my contract. They even used the words Crash Davis, which at the time irked me a bit. But now I look back going like, you know what, honestly, it was the best job available to me. So I'm happy to be your Crash Davis. My only regret, and I can't wait to talk to Roman Anthony right after this because, dude, my only regret was not signing back to the Boston Red Sox that next season because of all the organizations I played with. And by the way, it was 9 organizations. Boston Red Sox were my favorite organization I played for, and I was only with them for 2 months. Guys, we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, Ryan, myself, and the one and only Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox, number 2 prospect, coming up right after this On Deck with Cody Decker. Welcome back to On Deck with Cody Decker here on Stadium, and of course, want to reintroduce you to the entire show. This show is all about minor league baseball. Someone like me who spent parts of 11 seasons in minor league baseball. And of course, my co-host today, Ryan Lavarnway, spending parts of 15 seasons. We're taking on a guy right now to join us right here. Number 2 prospect for the Boston Red Sox and parts now of 2 seasons of minor league baseball with an organization that both Ryan and myself both played for and have a lot of fond feelings for. We're bringing in number 2 prospect of the Boston Red Sox, Roman Anthony. Roman, dude, how you doing? How you feeling? How is the season going so far? I'm looking at the numbers. Dude, what a hell of a run for is this your first full season playing, or is this your second full season?
Yeah, how's it going? But this is actually my second full season. Last year was my first full season. So I was drafted in 2022, got to play a little bit of that. The draft's a little bit later now, so I got to play about a little over a month. Went to A-ball, and then started last year in A-ball as my first full year, first spring training. So I went through that whole first full year last year. Got to go to a few different places, and now I'm going into my second full year here in Double-A. So it's been awesome so far. We have a great group of guys here in Portland, and I'm having a blast.
So I'm glad you're playing in Portland. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about Portland. Ryan played in Portland. I played in Portland, both at completely different times. Ryan played in Portland right around the same time that you're there. Granted, both of us out of college, but I actually want to start there. You mentioned drafted by the Boston Red Sox, second round. What does it tell you, as a guy out of high school? I know I can only imagine how daunting that is to get into professional baseball, skipping the entire college ranks, going right into the heat of the all of it, really. What was it say to you that a Red Sox organization of a caliber and the history that they are, that they go so far over slot to get you? Because it's not like they went a little over slot. I mean, you were a second rounder that signed for $2.5 million. I mean, the Red Sox have some good feelings about you. What does that tell you about the future with this organization with you?
It's amazing. We built a pretty strong relationship throughout my senior year of high school, and I got to know a lot of the guys throughout the front office and different scouting directors and whatnot, and made so many great relationships. So, going into the draft, always knew in the back of my mind, like, hey, why wouldn't I want to be drafted by these guys? A great group of guys with such a great history of winning and recently winning too. And so going into it, didn't really know what to expect as an 18-year-old kid who's never been through the draft. So it was a lot at first, and then like I said, we had such a strong relationship that they were open with me that whole night, and vice versa. So it was there was a lot of communication going on, and it flowed well on both sides. And once it finally happened, it was a feeling that I don't think I've ever felt before. And it didn't really hit me at first because that night can be pretty hectic, and so I think like the next day waking up realizing, hey, I was drafted last night by the Boston Red Sox. It was something I'll obviously remember forever, and it was one of the, if not the greatest days of my life.
Nice.
Yeah, so Roman, what I remember from my draft day when I got drafted by the Red Sox was I kind of walked into the backyard and I tried to soak it in, but it wasn't until the next day. I was drafted in '08 by the Red Sox, and the next day when I called them back to ask a question like, well, when's my flight? When do I come? They answered the phone saying, 2007 World Series champion Boston Red Sox, how can we help you? And I was like, oh my God, that's me now, or I'm kind of one of those guys. And then my next major memory is walking into spring training the next year and being so intimidated by 250 players in the organization, just overwhelming. Can you talk us through that first feeling where it really started to sink in? And then also, what was your first experience when you showed up in person like?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think like I said, it didn't really hit me for a little while, and then I got to before they sent us down to Florida, I got to go with two of the other draft picks to Boston and a few other guys, I think. But the three of us in particular, three high school guys, we all got to hit on the field before a game at Fenway. And I think that was the first time. I had never seen Fenway. I'd never even been to Boston. So that was the first time, like getting on the field, meeting some of the guys, meeting the big league team, and hitting BP on the field. It was like, okay, wow, this is really real. And honestly, I say like I get that feeling every time now that I go to Boston or I pass through Boston. Like, I've been there this year. I was there not too long ago. I was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago on an off day, and I just talked like with my roommate, and we're just like, this feels more and more real every time we're here, and like this is where we want to be. So I think it was not until I got there and saw, the city and the fans and, the people there that are so passionate about Boston sports that I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then, it was, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, it was like I was on a plane after that right down to Florida, and it was like I was getting going right away. And I didn't know if it was going to, I didn't really know if I was not going to start till the following year or, a couple months, but it was like, boom, right to it. And then, so I got to meet a few guys, down in Florida at the Complex League and then in A-ball. So I think that helped a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that first spring training was a bit intimidating. And, luckily we have such a great staff and a great group of guys as a whole that, I met so many great different people, so many great coordinators and guys that were willing to help along the way. But yeah, I think that first spring training, you come in and you see, all the big league guys and the way that they go about their work, and you're a bit intimidated. But, I think I learned so much from that. And last year as a whole, that coming into this spring training, it was completely different. But it was, a little bit intimidating at first, for sure.
Well, dude, I got to ask you a follow-up on that because, you went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida specifically, and that's the same place where, the great Anthony Rizzo came out of, who was also picked up by the Boston Red Sox. So you're following in that same footsteps, but really tell me, like, as an 18-year-old kid taking BP at Fenway, I was a kid born and raised in Los Angeles, California. If the Dodgers called me at 17 and said, get over to Chavez Ravine and start hitting, I'm going there with the intent and the only sole intent to put the balls out of the stadium. How far were you just trying to hit tanks that entire time?
Yeah. No doubt. I was trying to hit home runs the whole time. I think at first it was like there's a lot of people watching, so you don't want to look like too much of an idiot. But I think that first couple of swings, like, okay, let me get my swing, and then maybe 5, 6 swings in, I was trying to leave the yard every swing, and I think all three of us were. But I think that was what we were there for, was to kind of just try and put on a show and to enjoy it and enjoy the moment and enjoy like how hard we've worked to get there and just being, like I said, being around those big league guys, seeing guys that I've grown up watch win World Series and play with in video games. Now they're suddenly watching me take BP on their field and on our field essentially now. That was like the craziest thing to me. And the only intention was to leave the yard.
Smart man. But Ryan asked you a question. I didn't really ask a question. He mentioned the day he remembers being drafted. What was that day like for you? Because I can tell you right away exactly where I was. I was a senior out of UCLA. After it got past the 5th round, I just stopped paying attention to the draft. I was so frustrated and annoyed. I went downstairs to the weight room. I'll never forget. I got a phone call from the Padres, and they're like, "Hey, we just took you in the 22nd round." And I was just annoyed in mid-lift, and I'm like, "Great," and hung up. I had to call him back an hour later to express to him, I'm actually very excited. I was just mid-lift. I'm very, very, very serious about my job. I'm not, but they didn't know that at the time. What was it like for you, Roman, that day?
Yeah, it was as crazy as this is going to sound. It was frustrating at times. It was confusing. It was a little weird. Coming off of the high school season I had, I thought I did everything I needed to and more to probably go a little bit earlier, I guess. And like you just mentioned, seeing a lot of people that I played with go before you, and seeing a bunch of guys go off the board and being with your family there and kind of just watching and then biting your nails, not really hearing a whole lot. It can be frustrating at times, but like I said, I think the Red Sox did such a great job that night of just communicating with us and being very open-ended with myself, my agents, whoever it may have been. And so it was a little bit weird at first, and it was kind of like nerve-wracking. Hey, am I going to go today? Am I not? Or am I going to get what I want? Am I going to go back to school? But for me, I was in a good spot because I really did like where I was committed to go to college, and to me, it wasn't really a problem for me. The thought process was like, hey, if I don't get what I want, then I'll just have to go play college baseball and prove that I'm worth what I want. So I think I was in a pretty good headspace, but you can never really prepare for that night, I think, because you never know what's going to happen. It's so weird now with so many different guys and people trying to underslot different guys and save money for guys in the back half. It could be tough, especially, being an 18-year-old kid, trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? Why is everyone going here? And why am I not being picked? But it all worked out in the end of the day. And like I said, when I got that call and got what I wanted, I could care less about where I was drafted. In the end of the day, I got what I wanted, and I was playing, going to get an opportunity to play for the Boston Red Sox. So for me, it was like, okay, this is fantastic.
So Roman, when you went to meet the team that day at Fenway, did you have any interactions that you didn't expect in the locker room? And I say that because when I got drafted, before I actually signed, I met the team in LA and they were playing the Angels. And as they walked me through the locker room, Jason Varitek was getting a massage on a massage table, and the locker room was so small. He was in the shower. And I'll never forget that. I was like, is this what the major league locker room is like? Was there anything that stood out to you like that?
Yeah, so we didn't go into the locker room with the guys before, but I do. So in about the 7th inning, because we hit BP a little early, so guys, like, not everyone was out yet, but in about the 7th inning, we went in to do some physicals in the training room, and I remember JD Martinez and Chris Sale were sitting there, and I wanted to introduce myself to both of them, but to JD because I have a family friend of mine who JD gets a lot of his fishing rods and reels from, and told me, like, hey, go talk to JD. So before I could even say anything, JD and Chris were sitting there, like, looking at us guys, and they were like, hey, what pick were you? And I was like 79. They were like, how much did you sign for? And I told them what I signed for, and they just like lost their minds. Like what's going on? How did you get that much where you went? And it was just kind of funny. Like they were just, kind of picking us apart a little bit, the three guys that were there, and just messing with us a little bit. So it was funny, but they were great dudes. They were super, super nice, super outgoing. And at that point both of them were hurt. So they were just in the training room kind of messing with us the whole time while we were doing our physicals and moving around.
It's funny. I had a relatively similar experience, only it was the complete opposite. So I remember my first big league camp in spring training. I was sitting there at my locker, and Bud Black, who was my manager at the time, goes around, and he's really good at just getting information out of guys stand up in front of the classroom, tell us who you are, that type of thing. And I remember Corey Spangenberg was right next to me. He signed for like $1.9 million. I did not know this at the time, but he just goes, Corey, what'd you sign for? He says, $1.9 million. And I immediately fell out of my chair, sitting next to him. And he says, like, Deck, was that not what you signed for? $638.43 after taxes, bud. These bats you bought me cost 5 of me. And it was just one of those things. It's so wild, the dichotomy that's in these locker rooms, because you're in Portland right now. You're one of the guys that, back in our day, we would have described as the bonus babies. But at this point, the game's kind of changed a little bit, and where there's slightly fairer pay to minor leaguers. Like, what's the dichotomy in a AA locker room right now, from the highest paid guy to the lowest paid guy?
Yeah. I think you still get that chatter from certain guys who have been around a little bit, and I think, last year for me, it was like I jumped to 3 different levels, and then, was in locker rooms with, being 18 at the time, and being with guys who are a lot older than me. Obviously sometimes you get there and it seems like guys kind of get their feathers up a little bit, but, you still get a little bit of that. And I think the big thing is just like playing and showing that you belong there with the way you play and the way you carry yourself and handle yourself. So there isn't too much of that at all anymore, especially with our Oregon, the club that we have here. We have a great group of guys here. But I've definitely seen a little bit of that before. But really, it's this year especially. It's such a great club that we have here that there's really none of that. And there are guys who are, pushing 30 years old, and then guys like myself who are 20. So it's a little bit like strange at first. I think it was a little more strange last year for me, like getting to a clubhouse and seeing guys give their wife and kids a hug after the game. And I just was in high school the year before. I was kind of like, whoa. But that was the biggest thing, was just like the adjusting to the clubhouse, but the guys are great. And to me especially, never really have had any complaints with anyone in our org. So it's been great.
Where's the Futures at Fenway this year, or what teams are playing Futures at Fenway? For those of you that don't know, the Red Sox do this cool thing every year where 2 of the minor league affiliates play a doubleheader at Fenway. And for me, it was the short season team, which that level doesn't even exist in the minors anymore, and the AAA team. So I think my 4th ever professional game, because I signed in August because I had a broken wrist for the draft. But my 4th ever game was played at Fenway, and it was a game that mattered and counted in the minor leagues. Do you guys have that this year?
No, we didn't have that last year either.
Oh, interesting.
So that's news to me. I didn't even know that was a thing, to be completely honest.
I'm so jealous.
We didn't have it last year.
I signed mid-season. I didn't know this was a thing either. I would have given anything to be a part of that. Granted, I was like 40, but I would have still loved to have been a part of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that. We didn't do that last year, as far as I know. And I haven't heard anything about it this year.
Well, Roman, we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of what makes you tick, get a little bit more into your career. And honestly, I want to ask you some serious baseball questions, and more importantly, fishing questions, right when we get back here on Deck with Cody Decker. Okay. Ryan Lavarnway, myself, and Roman Anthony. Welcome back to On Deck with Cody Decker here at Stadium. And of course, it's myself, Ryan Lavarnway. And who is this? Why, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that's number 2 prospect of the Boston Red Sox organization, Roman Anthony, showing all the moves that he absolutely has. A little out of sync, but at the end of the day, his job is to hit oppo tanks, not necessarily dance. I am concerned with coordination, Roman. Outside of that, dude, I think you really got this down pat. And at the end of the day, as long as the ball goes over the fence oppo, I don't think anybody cares about your dance moves too much, but what do you got?
Oh God, I've been in a couple of clubhouses now where that video has been sent into the group chat too many times. So
this is what you gotta do, though, dude. I'm telling you, double down on it. What you do is you hit a home run,
Yes.
step on home plate, and do that
Yes.
exact dance towards your dugout. They will love you forever, my guy.
yeah, we've joked about it quite a bit, and some of the guys have wanted to make it the double celebration, and it's like I said, it surfaced last year when I was in Greenville, and then this year again. Some Red Sox account fan page tweeted it and was just our clubhouse. They took full advantage of that.
Yeah, they tell you that what happens on the internet lives forever. This is your example of that. We had a guy when I was with the Braves. We had a guy that would take shirtless lifting pics when he was in high school, and they got posted all over the locker room his entire career with the Braves.
Oh, dude, you think that's bad? I had a teammate that had 3 different dating profiles. Each different dating profile had a picture of him in a Padre uniform or a Blue Jay uniform. We're like, bro, that is such a bad look.
Roman, do you have any?
Videos,
Do you have any?
those videos and pictures? They don't ever leave.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any nicknames that have happened that necessarily came from the past and you don't love, but that they stick with you no matter what?
I really don't. I've never really had any nicknames, I don't think, that I can think of at least. And none that have really stuck, if there ever have been any. But maybe I'll get one here sooner or later.
What about your dad and your brother? Anthony.
Is Thanksgiving just?
Yeah, it's not.
Is Thanksgiving a nightmare?
Yeah, it's not a very creative family when it comes to names. My dad's Anthony. There's so much that's just the same in my family. Your head would spin at a Christmas or a Thanksgiving. So, like I said, it's pretty wild seeing a million Johns and a million Nicks and a million Anthonys. So,
dude, Anthony. I love. It's like the Mario Brothers, Mario. It's my favorite thing in the world. Trust me, I understand families with their lazy naming purposes. I have the same middle name as 13 cousins, and I despise it. Tell me, your first year last year, was it high A or low A last year? Where were you at last season?
I started in low A and finished the year in double A.
Nice. So you're getting your first full experience in Double A as a full season right now. You're in Portland, Maine, which, by the way, an awesome town. Here's something that I learned in the minor leagues, and I'm sure Ryan learned in the minor leagues as well. And it's basically Double A. People sometimes can, when they hear the words Double A, they could scoff at it and be like, oh, that's lower level minor leagues. Nay, false. If you can be successful in Double A, you 100% can be successful at the big leagues. At that point, it's a numbers game, and obviously you're not necessarily in one of those positions, but you're making this massive jump to Double A for a full season. How has that transition from low A, high A been going to Double A? Because Double A, you're facing big league competition.
Yeah, I think that was the first time, coming from low A going to high A. I had a lot of success in high A, and didn't really seem a whole lot different. Guys just threw more strikes, so it was a little bit easier in a sense for me going to high A. And then I think double A was the first time where I got there, and it felt like, okay, I'm playing against grown men, and I'm playing against guys who have big league time, and guys that I play against on a weekly basis are going to the big leagues right from, we'll play a team. We played a team this year. One of the guys from the Rockies that we faced out of the bullpen, we faced him, and then a week later he was in the big leagues. So I think that was the biggest thing is you're facing guys who have had big league time, you're facing guys who are 30 years old and guys that are legitimately grown men, especially for me last year. The end of my first full season, I was tired. I was skinny. I was, going through the things that you go through as a high schooler for your first full year. And I get to double A and I'm like, okay, this pitcher is a grown man throwing 100 miles an hour. But in the end of the day, I still had success and still had a blast. And it's the same game. It's just guys are a little older, guys, their stuff's a little better. But to me, it's like the more I've gone up, guys have been a little bit more around the zone. And yeah, their stuff might be better. But for me, if they're more around the zone, to me, it makes it that much easier. And yeah, guys hit the ball a little harder. I learned that. Guys are definitely stronger. But that was the biggest thing, was just the adjustability. And I think the adjustability, like off the field to the clubhouse and hanging with guys that are 10 years older than me, that was like the biggest thing. Because I always knew on the field, like for me, I know it's the same game. And I know that regardless of what level I'm at, I feel pretty confident that I'll have success. And so far, it's been great. And finally coming back and getting an off season to prepare and a whole spring training to go through, with the guys and with the Double A club, and even getting some big league time at camp. I think that prepares you so well for what, is to come this year. And it has, and up to where we are now, I've had a blast. I've, had a decent amount of success. And then the biggest thing is that we're just having a lot of fun playing here, and we have a great group.
Yeah, Roman, when I started in Double A, that was the year I went Double A, Triple A, big leagues. The year that Mookie Betts started in Double A, he was the MVP of the Double A team and the MVP of the Triple A team and ended in the big leagues. You talk about how last year you were skinny by the end of the year, you were tired by the end of the year. It was your first full year in pro ball. You were still very young coming out of high school. What have you done differently this year to prepare yourself for that grind of the long season and to play against, as you described, fully grown men?
Yeah, I think it's like little things, right? Like last year, not really knowing what to expect going into the full year, not cooking, not getting up and getting breakfast, just going to bed at 1 a.m. and then sleeping till report time, like just things like that, being irresponsible and not even. I mean, it's not really so much being irresponsible. It's like I didn't really know, and these games, they really can weigh on you, especially that first full season. It can be a grind at times. And so for me, it was like, I was exhausted after the All-Star break and it took a lot out of me, a lot of caffeine and a lot of, different things to get ready for the game. And yeah, I'm 18, 19. I should have a ton of energy, but I really didn't at a certain point in the year. And, so just making adjustments, going into the off season, really honing in on cooking and staying on top of the things that I need to stay on top of and my diet and whatever it may be, taking advantage of eating good food. And it can be tough sometimes in the minor leagues. I bet you guys know more than me. Obviously now it's way better. But it can still be tough at times. And, just taking advantage of, like I said, sleep and getting up in the morning, getting breakfast, getting 3 meals at least, and holding weight. I think that makes such a difference, and I think I've done a good job so far. But still a lot of baseball to be played, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm glad you're acknowledging that, because there's a human aspect to specifically minor league baseball when you're coming out of high school. I can only imagine. I like to pretend that I was more prepared coming out of college. I like to pretend, I learned a decent amount in college, but not necessarily anything that would really help me with the pro game. What really helped me with the pro game probably was, the opportunity to go to summer ball. But, looking at this transition for you, you mentioned how difficult it was, especially maintaining weight. The season's long, and a full season is really long. What are you doing off the field? Because we know what the work is on the field. You get to the field every day between noon to 3 every day. You're doing your private work in the cage. You're doing your early workout in the field. What is the work that you're doing at home, whether it's work or just something that's not work related to keep yourself sane? Because that's the thing people don't realize about baseball. You need to have other hobbies, especially during the season, or else you're going to lose your damn mind.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I learned that last year. I think the most was that I need to do something when I leave the field and not just go sit in bed and lay on my phone. I got a great roommate, and we're really close, and we have a great group of guys here. So we as a group, we do a lot of things. Like we're on the road right now. We all walk to breakfast after the game. We all try to get dinner. If spread isn't great, a lot of us will go out to eat or just little things like that. And especially being back home, like going out and walking around. And luckily we're in Maine and it's the summer, so it's a great spot to be. So there's a lot to do. But just getting out of the house, really, I think it's important to, you know, whether you play good, play bad, like when you go back to the apartment, not to just sit there and then, look at your swings and like look at what you did during the game. I think I learned that a lot last year too. Like really disconnecting from the field when you leave and disconnecting from baseball. Like I feel like that works for me. Like I'm not a guy now. I've learned like for me, it's not good to go back and just go on the app and look at my swings. I just let it go and wait till the next day. And so when I leave the field, I really just leave, baseball at the field.
Nice.
And we try to do as much as we can, my roommate and I, just whether that's, watching a new TV show or going out and, getting gelato in Portland at night or just walking around and getting out of the house. I think it's people don't realize how much that, can really help.
Big bad.
Your roommate that you're talking about is Marcelo, yes? The Red Sox #1 prospect.
Yeah, correct.
Your
Ooh, they kept you
your
together.
manager. Yeah.
What's that?
Your
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, ooh, kept them together. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
your manager there in Portland, Chad Epperson, was my catching coordinator for all 7 years that I was with the Red Sox. And I texted him the other day to check in. I said, "Give me some dirt on Roman." And he was very kind. He didn't give me any dirt on you, but he said to ask you if Marcelo's glove was ready, the red one, because he's been pounding on it for a week and a half by now.
Epi's the best. He's the man. We have me and Marcelo are constantly just in Epi's office messing with him and messing with each other. We have such a funny relationship. He's fun to play for. He's awesome. But yeah, Marcelo's glove. It's a funny story about Marcelo. He was the 4th pick, and he can get any glove in the world that he wants from any company, as many as he wants. Obviously, when you can get whatever you need if you're the 4th pick. And he got a bunch of gloves out of the draft. Rawlings, Wilson, figured out he liked Wilson the best. Got a bunch of different ones. Hated all of them. I shouldn't say that because it's probably. But he didn't.
probably
He
liked
wasn't really
kind
comfortable
of
with
some
any
of
of.
them.
Wasn't really comfortable with the gloves that he had, so he went to Dick's and bought a glove a couple of years ago, and he's had this Dick's glove that he uses, and he's used it every year in Pro Bowl now, and it's beat down bad, and he's to the point where he wears a batting glove underneath it because he sweats so much because it's so crusty inside of it now, and he got this new red glove that he finally really likes. And he finally likes it. So now we had a joke with we were just messing around with Epi. Where the first day he got it, we were in his office, kind of playing around with it, and we're like, "Dude, this is ready to be used tonight." And he was playing third base for like the first time, and he's just screwing around with Epi, like, "Hey, I'm using this tonight. Screw it." And Epi's like, "You're not using that damn glove tonight," because it was way too stiff, and we were just messing with him. And but he's still riding out with the old glove, and he's messing around with the red one, playing catch with it. But my take on it is that he's never going to use the red one. He's going to stick with the one he has, and he's just not going to go away from it.
In fairness, Ryan, I got at least 1 to 3 new gloves every season because I played every position. I used the same first baseman's mitt for the last 9 years of my career, and I never even touched the other ones. I gave them all away when I retired, dude. I didn't know what to do with them. I should have sold them. That was a waste of time on my part. A bad businessman is what I am. By the way, Roman, if you get a chance, there's a spot over there in Portland, Maine that I fell in love with. I would go there after every game to eat dinner. Have you checked out Nosh? It's a burger joint.
Yeah, I was there. I was there last week.
Yep,
It's a
that
good
place
spot,
is my
right across from the taco spot, right across the street. I don't know if that was there.
It's so good. I love the food in Portland, Maine. But I want to ask you some personal questions real quick because, one, you're having yourself a bit of a moment because your Florida Panthers are up 3-0 right now. How you feeling about your team?
Awesome. I'm sad I can't be there to watch. I honestly I was never huge into hockey, and I never realized how much I liked it until my senior year of high school, when they were pretty good. Obviously, being from Florida, I always root for the Panthers, and they were never, great all the time. But so my senior year of high school, I started going down. A kid that I played high school baseball with, his dad got he had these season tickets for work, and I had 2 different buddies, and one was right on the glass. So we would go and we would watch these games, and as they got later on in the year, they were really good, got into playoffs, made a pretty good run, and those were the most electric games I've ever been to. And I didn't realize how much I was all in on hockey until then. So ever since then, I've just been super, all in on the Panthers, and they haven't been able to get it done, but we're looking good so far. And all my buddies are back home at every single one of the games and at watch parties, and it just looks unbelievable.
I mean, bro, up 3-0 right now. It's only happened one time in the history of the sport. I think it's pretty safe to say that you're going to be walking home with the cup this year.
Yeah, I hope so. It's an awesome place to go and watch. Like I said, I'd never really watched hockey growing up. My dad spent a little time in Center City, Philadelphia when he was growing up, and so always went to the Flyers games and would always tell me how much fun hockey is. But I didn't realize it until I went in person my senior year of high school, and then ever since then I was hooked on it. And I still try to go back as much as I can, but it's tough now, obviously. And I've got some FOMO seeing all my guys back home at the games just going crazy. So hopefully they do get it done, though. We're looking good.
So as we talk to you, you are in Reading, Pennsylvania. Is that right? You guys are on the road this week?
Oh.
Yeah. Yep, we're in
The
Reading
nicest
right now.
fans in baseball are in Reading, Pennsylvania. Ryan and I were joking before you came on. I've only almost gotten to fist fights with fans 2 times in my entire career. One was in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I was like 30 at the time. So that's how annoying they can be over there in Reading. I said it. You didn't say that, Roman. You love them.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but I tell the guys on our team, this might be my favorite spot to play in the minor leagues, as weird as it sounds. But this was the first place I played at in AA last year, and I've had a pretty good track record of, playing here and performing pretty well here. So and the field is, the league that we're in, I'm sure you guys know, it's not a super hitter friendly league. And especially in the beginning, and we came here the second week. I mean, we got snowed out of 2 of our games in Maine. Came here the second week. It's 75 and sunny all week. I'm like, man, I'm going to take advantage of this. Had a great week, and then went back to the cold, and I was like, damn, here we go again. But I really love playing at this place. It's a small field. It's a good hitter's park. And to be honest, last night, unfortunately, I wasn't in the lineup, but last night, Brandon Marsh is doing a rehab assignment here, so there was 9,000 people here, and it was, I mean, they hit a home run, which is never a good thing, but they hit a home run late in the game to take the lead, and the place was going crazy. So I was like, this is kind of cool. But I mean, I love hitting here, and yeah, the crowd is definitely a little bit different, but it's a good spot to play.
Rhino, you ever homer at Reading?
I think I homered there once, but the thing that stands out to me about Reading in my memory is that once a year, maybe twice a year, they play a 9:30 a.m. game, and they call it the third. They call it the third shift game. So it's the people that get off the night shift come straight to the game, and they sell more beer at that 9 a.m. game than they do the rest of the year combined.
Skip, I'm not feeling well today. I'm gonna have to take it easy today. I can't play this game.
Yeah, that doesn't really sound too surprising to me. I mean, the schedule we play here is different always than any other place. Like we play, usually the games are at 6, but we play at 7 here, and then on Sunday we have like an 8-hour drive, but we play at 5:30 on Sunday, which is just it's a bad spot to be for the bus ride after, which I never really understood. And it was different the first week we were here because it wasn't summer yet. But once summer hits, the schedule just like it's not a good schedule if you're a visiting team and you're not close. So, but I mean, I can't really complain. They get pretty good crowds here, and it's definitely an interesting crowd, but it's a fun time, and it's a fun place to play.
Roman, before we let you go, obviously, we didn't get too much into your fishing. Have you done any fishing in Maine real quick? Yes or no?
No, I haven't. I haven't fished in a while. I usually, I was during COVID. I never really was a big fisherman. I mean, growing up, I'd fish for bass in a lake, but then I got into, going out with kites and deep sea fishing during COVID and really doing the whole gig, doing it up the right way. And we would go fishing like, 2-3 times a week, just go deep sea fishing because there wasn't anything else to do. And my friend had a really sweet center console. So we got into that a whole lot. And then after COVID kind of slowed down, we'd still try to go here and there. But I really haven't done any fishing here. Honestly, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. But
I mean, it'd be worth
really
it, Roman, but you telling me you're doing deep sea fishing, you're just doing off the creek over in Portland, Maine. I mean, you're probably used to catching marlin, let alone whatever they got in Portland, Maine. I guess lobster.
Lobster.
Yeah, no, probably catch a lot of lobster here, but
yep.
Yeah, we would go for some marlin, and we've caught a couple big fish, and there's nothing like it. But no, I haven't been. I mean, I really need to go. I didn't go as much this off season either. Started golfing a little bit. But
that a baby.
That got in the way.
That gets in the way of everything. And don't worry, that's not a bad thing. My handicap's currently at 11.8. Everybody's got to get on my level. I'm only getting better by the day.
That's a lot better than my handicap. I can tell you that much. I stink. But
Roman
for some
Anthony,
reason, for some reason last year, every Monday I would go, and that was like my getaway. But I'd play like 7 a.m, so it was super irresponsible, and I would shoot like an 150, and I would just be like, this is terrible.
Well, I got to get Ryan out there to the golf course because I shot an 81 the other day. Roman Anthony, we cannot thank you enough for joining us on Deck today, dude. Congratulations on everything that's going on with your career. Congratulations on this season. It seems like you got a hell of a group over there in Portland, and we cannot wait to see you in the big leagues over there in Boston, my guy.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Of course. Well, guys, we're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, a little bit more with Ryan and myself right here on Deck with Cody Decker. Welcome back to On Deck with Cody Decker, and of course with me, Ryan Lavarnway. We just finished talking up with Roman Anthony about everything with the Boston Red Sox organization. He's currently there in Portland, Maine. And dude, I didn't get to ask him about my favorite spot in Portland, Maine. I don't know if it was your favorite spot in Portland, Maine. There was a speakeasy bar because, of course, Roman Anthony is under the age of 21. There's a speakeasy bar that you go into a phone booth, you punch in a code, you open up the door, and it's a speakeasy called Lincoln. And the reason it's called Lincoln is because every drink is $5. It was my favorite thing. You had to pay $5 in cash to get a drink. God, I love Portland, Maine, dude.
Dude, what a good kid. Brings me back to all the good memories of coming up through the minor leagues. So excited for him and his future.
Oh, dude, you ain't lying. And also on top of that, you remember when we were in the Eastern League, the second go around? I remember one time, because he mentioned how the arms are so good there, and he's not wrong. I remember Nate Fryman, who was in the same boat as we were. We didn't have any information on one particular pitcher coming in. And I'd be like, you got anything on this guy? And he looks through the book, can't find his name. And he just goes, no, but he is a pitcher in Double-A in the Eastern League. So he throws 98 to 101 with 6 inches of arm side run. So good luck. And I just laughed and I saw him pitch. I'm like, yep, everyone here is a dude. What the hell?
Yeah, the talent is so good. The talent in Double-A especially. I mean, these guys have their task up for them.
Well, guys, that is it for this show On Deck with Cody Decker. Hopefully you join us next time. Ryan Lavarnway, Cody Decker. Have a good one.